Okay, so today I'm going to work on an S550. This is the Hexacopter, and I'm going to use some LHI motors. Actually, I bought two 4-packs, and then I'm also going to use a Pixhawk flight controller. So as many of you who are trying to assemble this are probably wondering, there are no instructions that come with the box. So I'm going to give you a quick orientation here. Obviously, you're going to have 8 of these legs, not too difficult. This would be the landing gear. This is the base feet part of it, and then these are the legs. And then these would be the bars that for the lower battery compartment strap set, not strap, but lower battery compartment set. And this would be the base part for where the battery would sit at. You're going to have 3 packages of screws. This is the battery strap, and then you have these little we call it like eyelet type things here, and that's really for the base part for when you actually slide these tubes back and forth. Then you have 2 plates. You have a top plate. Now, how do you know if one's a top plate, one's a bottom plate? Well, here's the secret. You can't really tell on this side, but if you flip it over, then you see the positive, negative points on there, and then where you would put your where you would solder your actual battery connector wire into. So that's how you can tell. So this is where you would hook up your Esc connection sets here, and then there's the battery input piece right here. So I have 6 motors. And I want you to pay close attention to the colors here. So you have the silver and you have the black tip ones. And actually I may have had them mixed up, but the silver and black tip. So one's going to be a clockwise spinning direction, the other one's counterclockwise. You can still change that easily by just flipping the wires, the middle, at least 2 wires, not all 3, but changing 2 of the 3 wires connection set to make them spin the other direction. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install the motors onto the arms of the Hexacopter. So what you want to do is just put the wires in through this first slot right here, and then feed it through, and then flip it over. And you may have to bend this just a little bit so it kind of flushes or lays flush on there. And then make sure that the holes all line up with the slots. There we go, and that's going to be a good match. And now one thing I want to point out though is in each screw bag you have the Allen key, and then you also have 8 screws in there. So you want to take, out of the 8 screws, you want to take the shorter ones. And I'll show you what the difference is. Let's put these over here. I'll do it one at a time. So hopefully you can see this here. There's the difference. That's a little bit longer than the other one, so obviously use the shorter one because you don't want them too long, because if they're too long they'll catch up in the inside and touch the coils for the motor, and that will cause it to scrape and then also possibly short. Oh, and one other thing too you want to do is you also want to use Loctite. And all you need for Loctite is just a little bit of a drop on the end of the screw there. And the good thing about Loctite is, it's a lot. The good thing about Loctite is it will hold it in place, because you are going to get a lot of vibrations. It's just a good practice. You might be able to get away with it without using it, but that's just something I like to do. It does get a little bit messy, but you'll be all right. Just make sure you got a napkin or something. Wipe it off your hands. All right, so I'll go ahead and do this one and try to line it up again. There we go. Nope, not lined up. Oh, almost lost it. All right, round 2. Line it up flush. Go, that's catching. And so when you put the next one in, make sure it's lined up first. So when you put the next one in, make sure you put it on the opposite side here. camera. The hole's not exactly lined up. That should work. Oh, almost forgot my Loctite again. Like I said, it doesn't take much. All you need is just a little dab. There you go. Actually, I may have to loosen this guy a little bit so I can turn it some more. It's already almost locked in there. Tightening that guy. Gonna catch or what? There we go. All right, now it's catching. There we go. A little bit there. Like I said, that Loctite will help keep it in place. All right, I got 2 more to go. Should use the short ones. A little dab of Loctite. Doesn't take much. This next two will be easy because we already got the other ones in. These are almost lined up. There we go. I think that's, nope. These guys don't catch somewhere. You have to press in a little hard to get it in the hole. Play around with this guy. He's playing games with me. There you go. Is it catching? There you go. It's caught. So keep going. Twist it around. Big believer in using all 4. Because like I said, these things, you are going to get some vibration. And since I got Loctite that dripped out, I'll just use it that's on this plastic right here. Drop that in there. This one should be the easiest. There we go. Tighten that up. All right, so do 3 of these with the silver tip to it, and then 3 that have the black tip, and I'll show you about the order next go around. Okay, so now that we have all 6 done, I want to show you about the ESC connection. So you notice that there's the male ends on here, so you need to get female ends on these 3 points right here. So we're going to use these types of female connectors that would fit into here, just like that. So we'll move these out the way. I'm going to show you something that I made a while ago on some other older quadcopter builds that's on my previous videos on my channel. And so what I did was I just took some wood, drilled some holes in it, and this actually is a great place to put these in, so that way you can do your soldering and then drop each of the ends in here like that as we go along. So we'll show you how to do that. Make sure I got a good angle on the camera. Back it up a little bit so you all can see it. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll take your solder, and there's actually, if you get the right kind, there's a hole on the inside, so you just have to push it through the hole, and once it heats up, you can drop your solder in there, and just wait till it heats up, and then the solder will melt in there until it fills up to the top. And then all you do is just drop your end in here, and just wait till it hardens up. And once it's hardened up, then you should be able to pull it straight out, and that's how you build your connection. So we just do that 3 times. I'll just do this one here so you can see how it goes. Find the hole. There it is. Lexus keeps detecting motion in the front door there. All right, so here we go. Drop some more solder in here. There we go. It looks like enough. Drop the next one in there. Oh, it's still hot. Kind of leaked out a little bit. There we go. Wait for it to cool down for a moment. It doesn't take too long. And pull it straight out. There you go. We got one more. Put enough solder in there so it fills up to the top. There we go. We'll do the last one. I tell you, this makes life so much easier. Instead of burning your hands trying to hold it or put it in some other type of mechanism. There we go. And there it is. So you got those 3 points in there. Should have a nice easy connect with this here. Connects on the bottom. Okay, next thing we're going to do is solder the speed controllers, the ESCs, onto the main circuit board here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this wire stripper. I think it's a 14. Yep, 14 gauge, and we'll just put it there. Strip another, looks like about 1/8 of an inch off of there. And then a technique I like to use is called tinning the wire. That's where I take my soldering iron, well, I should say my solder, and I just wrap it around, just like that. There we go. Then what I do is take the soldering iron, break that lead right there, and then I just put it on the end, and I'll bring it a little bit closer to the camera so you see. And you see that? It just melts the solder into the wire. There we go. And then what you do, I'll angle the camera down a little bit so you can see it. And double check the picture there. All right, there we go. And then what you do is you just place it right on the plus sign, since I have the red, and just heat it up right there on position. There we go. And it holds right there. And if you want, depending on how much you have, you can put a little bit more on for, I guess, good measure, but probably not that necessary. You don't want too much consistent contact, because then it'll lift right off again. And just wait a couple seconds for it to dry, and then it's on there. Pretty easy. So let's do the other one. So tinning the wire again, just wrapping the solder around it. Put my hand a little bit out of the way. There you go. I'll put a little bit more on. That way I have more to melt. Break the line, and then right on the end, let it melt. There you go. Got a nice glob on there. And then I think something might shift a little bit on you. I'll move my hand, I think it's blocking it. Just press it down. I'll move away so you can see it. Now the other thing too is you want to make sure that it's not blocking the hole. So I'm going to loosen this up so I can bring it around a little bit more on the inside. There we go. Turn it inside. There we go. I'll do the same with this guy. Oop. That's what I was talking about right there too. I gotta get that. There we go. The nice thing about solder is you can just chip it right off if you got a little bit of an overflow. All right, bring that a little close to the camera so you can see it. You see how it's not blocking the screw holes. So when it comes on, it fits over top like that, right there. And then the other neat thing too is you just bring this wire up the middle, which is going to go into the flight controller, and then you're good. So what we're going to do is assemble the landing gear. So what you want to do is loosen these screws right here. Actually, the entrances are right here, just enough to where you can be able to pry it open, and this bottom one right here, and then you should be able to fit this tubing right in there. All right, and you just got to make sure that this is angled properly, parallel. Let's see here, before you tighten it back up. Looks about right. And you may have to make a few more adjustments once you get it on there so it's sitting level as well. So you tighten the bottom one just a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to over tighten anything because you don't want to create any kind of cracks or fractures in the material. There we go. That's good enough there. Let's do the other one. All right, so we'll loosen these guys. Loosen up a little bit more. There we go. That might do it. We'll see. There you go. All right, and the same thing. Make sure that in. Actually, another way to do it would be to lay it flat on the table. I have a flat spot to lay it on. There we go. That's actually a smart way to do it. Just lay it flat on the table so it hits like that, and then you just tighten it back up. There we go. I'll probably do the same with the other leg again. We'll see how it lays down. Do the base. There we go. Doesn't have to be super duper tight, just enough so you don't have any play in there. And that should do it. So then what we're going to do is you have two circles. Let me make sure it's in the picture here. Back that up a little bit. So you have two circles on this here. That's where the landing gear is going to go. All right, so then what you do is you find the two circles on this base here, and then we'll just lift that up, and you see how they'll fit in there like that. And actually I did my soldering a little early, but I did have enough room, so I'll be able to get that in there. So now we just have to use the bucket of screws and make sure we've got the right ones. I believe it's still the big ones here, the thicker ones. So you had 2 bags of screws, if you remember in the very beginning. One's I don't know what the actual size were. These are smaller. These are the ones that are bigger. It looks like there's just 2 sizes there. So we'll open these guys up, pull 4 out. There we go. Just put them right there. And we'll just feed them in. Let me grab my Allen key again. Should be the same size, which it is. So we'll just lift this up. Make sure it's lined up. Okay, I think I was rudely interrupted by a phone call, and somebody just tried that again. So we're just finding the circle spots there. That's where the landing gear is going to go. And so I'm just hand tightening them up right now. And then once we get those in place, then I'll tighten them up with the wrench. And like I said, you didn't have to. You can either do the soldering before or after. If you solder the ESCs in before, then make sure you left enough room to be able to get your screw in, which I did. That's why I angled them the way that I did. So it's going down in there. So I'll just keep going. There we go. Doesn't take much. We'll do this one here. I'll spin it this way, probably a little easier. There we go. I think I got one more to do. And then we'll tighten this last one up. Be blocking a little bit. I'll move it in a second after I tighten it. Almost there. There we go. Just make sure I can't remember if I tightened that guy or not. Yeah, I think I did. Alright, and then just do the same with the other side, and then you'll have the legs on. And then we can put the arms on from there. So we just put this one in. Let me see this back in. Okay, good. You can see it. So we put this in. Very easy. Just hand tighten them for now. And remember, like I said before, if you solder the ESCs in, then just make sure you leave enough room for you to be able to put the screws in, and then that'll be it. And just use the Allen key, tighten that up, and then we'll be ready to go on the next step here. It's probably easier if I just spin it this way. Just check the camera position so you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. There we go. Down. There's 2. There's 3. I count it because I don't think I tightened that back corner one, which I know it didn't. There we go. And then 4. All right. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is get the battery compartment installed. So you have a number of little rubber spacer type sets in here. So you got this piece here, and you got this piece of rubber, and real easy, just fits right in the middle there. Just kind of work that thing in there. then push it through. Almost there. Almost there. Yep, there we go. That's all it takes. So do that 4 times. I guess I'll just do it. You can watch me do it. It'll take a second. It's real easy. And then after you get it in there, then I'll show you the 2 points, actually the 4 points where you have to install it at on the frame. So we'll turn it sideways so you can see it. But not too difficult to do. You just have to work it in there. It's just rubber. And just rolling it on the outside. See? Here you go. I think that looks right. There's the one side and the other side. All right. Actually, I have more than 4. I take it back. I got, looks like 1, 2, 6. Actually, I got 6 points, so I stand corrected. I was thinking about the quadcopter. I built a S500, and this is an S550. The S500 is only a quadcopter. All right, there you go. Just getting it. There we go. And actually, like I said, it doesn't take much. You just have to work the rubber into it and fold it on the outside, and just snaps right in place. It should have taken me less than a minute. I think I'm a little bit longer than that, but it's okay. You can always fast forward. There it is. And one more. And once I get this last one in, and I'll show you where they got to go on the quadcopter frame set. A little bit plastic, a little bit more. There it is. All right. So what do you do with these things? Let's see here. It's probably easier to show you from the top. So from the top, you got to look for the 2 holes. So there's 2 holes there. There's 2 holes there. 2 holes there. 2 holes there. And so then on the other side, it would just fit right in here like this. And then when you get them all in place, then you just slide the tubes over through them. All right. So we'll pause right there and let you guys do that. Okay, I'll just do one. So all I did was just take this, and this is the smaller screws that go in here. So you just push it under here. I just kind of hand tighten them, and I'll just put these in that you can see, and then I'll let you do the rest. But I like to just drop them in like this here from the top, and find the bottom, and just put them in by hand initially. It just seems to go a little faster. There you go. I'll do the same with the other ones. And also be cognizant of the arrow, so it's still pointing front. So in other words, my S550 is pointing toward the camera, so we know that's the front. Because when you do, when you put the actual poles in, it's going to be longer in the front. Okay, there we go. And it's so much easier to work with there. There we go. I'll just go through and tighten them up. And actually, that's a smaller one. You gotta use a smaller Allen key. And the funny thing is, I have an Allen key set. I'll use, I think it's a T10 it looks like. Let's double check that so that way to save you all some time. Yeah, it's T10. Just in case you're looking at the things there. So I do happen to have an electric screwdriver too. I've been doing a lot of stuff by hand, but I like to use the low torque setting. You know what? I don't think it's a T10 because it's making a stripping noise. Let me make sure I get the right size. I don't want to mess you all up there. Might be a 32. No, not a 32. You know what? Let me make sure I got the right size. I don't want to mess you all up. And you start stripping things and you say, oh, he's giving us the wrong one. Okay, that looks better. I don't know what size that is. Let me see if I can see what size that is here. Yeah, I think it's looks like it might be a T12, T11, T12. That fits right in there, and it doesn't strip. Try it again. So we'll do it again. And you see that? I got a low torque setting. So that way we don't sit there and mess up the board. That's the noise you want to hear. There it is. All right. So now we got those in there. We'll go next step. Okay, so still working on the base here. I think I'm going to have to get one of my precision Phillips screwdrivers here to put the base together, because the base is using a Phillips. So you see these smaller screws here. Those are all Phillips. So I'm going to tilt the camera down a little bit so you can see a little bit better and show you how to put the base together. The other thing too is, and this is good, so this is actually for the camera module. So this will go in the back, and then you can mount your camera portion set on there. At least I believe it is. That's what I'm going to use mine for. All right, let's get these little screws out. There we go. So real simple. All you do is just take this, and I don't think there's a difference with which side is what, unless it's countersunk. Yeah, it is. Okay, so there's one side, pay attention, it's countersunk, so you can be able to put the screw in there. So make sure you put the screw in on the countersunk side, so that way it's resting flat like that. Once you get it through there, put your Phillips in, line your hole up. Alrighty, and actually I could have probably put some Loctite on there. Make sure my hole's lined up. There, a little better. It was acting kind of weird. You can put Loctite on there if you want, but I think it's going to hold pretty reasonable. I like to put the Loctite around on the motors because that's where the most of the vibration is. But like I said, if you got enough to go around, you can put on everything if you want to. But alrighty, line that guy up. There we go. Tighten up a little more. All right, then we'll do the other one. Same thing. And you see how it's flat? So like I said before, make sure you put it in on the side that's countersunk. So that way the screw is resting flat. A lot of people, if you don't pay attention, you wonder, like, what's the difference between one side and the other? That's the difference. All right, so hold that in with the thumb. Tighten that up. Just drop the screwdriver. All thumbs there. Dropping the screw. Let's start over again. All right, try it again. First one only took a couple seconds. Other thing too is there's a nice little dip that fits in there, so you don't want to catch it in there. You want to make sure it's right in the screw hole. Try again. There we go. I'll have to go back, tighten that up after I line this other side up. I just moved in up a little bit. Slide it back in. Check the hole for alignment. There it is. Right position there. There you go. Tighten that guy up. All right. And so that's the base for the battery. So the battery will slide in that way. Now the other cool thing too is you've got this power strip that you'll be able to fit in there. So I've seen it where if you have the smaller batteries, you can slide in this way. Otherwise, you put the bigger batteries here on the bottom, and then this little thing right here can go this way, either on the top, or you can do it on the bottom. And it's Velcro, so it works either way. There you go. So like I use a larger battery, like the 5,000. I think it's 5,000 milliamp one instead of 1,200. So like I said, I had one where I could fit it on the top like that, and then there's one you put on the bottom there. So let's put the poles in, and then I'll show you how to slide this in here. Really straightforward. Make sure the camera is in the right position. We'll move it back up a little bit so you can see it. There we go. So opening up the bag. With scissors, so I use this screwdriver. So remembering where the front is, that's where you want the poles to stick out a little bit further. And the other neat thing too is these snap right in, so you can do it one of two ways. You can slide the pole in all the way in and then snap these in position here, or if you want, you can have that and slide it through here like that, and then put it through the pole. I mean through the eyelid here, and you have to work it in there. Just take your time and slide it through the other one. Like I said, taking your time with it. Lining it up on the back one. There we go. And I usually push it until it's flush with the end circuit board right there, so it sticks out in the front. All right, like I said, this is where the camera would go. And I do the same thing with this side, so you can feed it in that way, or you can snap it in one or the other. I think it's easier if you feed them in. And then line it up with this guy. And just feed it through the hole. Just take your time, no reason to rush. It's rubber, so you can have some friction. Alright, and there it is. Feed it through there. And line it up in the back hole. It takes a little effort, but not that much. And like I said, you don't want to rush it. And I'll just line it up parallel with the other one. That looks about right. Yep, there it is. And so here's the neat thing too. See how that slides forward? So you can do it that way. Or if you want to do the, if you need to slide it forward or what have you, you're going to put a smaller battery in there. Let's see, I think that's it. All right, so then we'll put on the camera bracket. So the camera bracket, pretty much the same thing. All right, there's countersunk holes right here. So we'll put these on like that and then get the bracket in that way. So let's see here, countersunk. Make sure it's the right guy. Yeah, it works out. Whoops. All right, take the time. There we go. Actually, I can turn it like that. Once you get it started, you're good to go. Yep, there we go. It's good to go there. Put the other one in, make sure it's lined up. I have to turn a light on here in a second, it's starting to get dark. Alrighty. There you go. And let me pause it for a second so y'all, it's getting dark. There we go. Just turn the light on so you can see a little bit better. Alright, looks like maybe they gave me an extra one here. I guess they must have. I got 3 of these little screws in here. Well, maybe why, because I almost dropped one. So put it in there. Remember the difference to the countersunk side. You get it right in there. Hold that end. Like I said, I found it's easier to just do it that way. Hold the end and then line it up, put it in and spin it this way. Just enough so it gets started. Then you can hold it. And then just use your Phillips and get it in there. And then line up the other side. There you go, now it's lined up. There we go. That's tight. And that one's tight. All right. And then whatever camera you're going to install on there, you got this bracket. So this goes right up on here. Just like that. And that's just about perfect there. There we go. So your camera would hang down like that. And I think it'd be good to go there. You just may want to make sure it's balanced right, but you know, might even push those back a little bit. Starting to look like what's on the box there. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the next step, which will be to install the arms and then the top cover, and then we'll go ahead and do the flight controller. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and attach the arms. I'm gonna show you something though. Okay, so the way this is set up, you need to know where the arm positioning is gonna be. So number one, so this is the front. Actually, I got it backwards. This is, let me turn it the right way here. This is the front. All right, so that means that if this is the front, that means that this is position 1. That's 2, right? That's 3, 4, 5, and then 6. All right. So let's go ahead and put these arms on. I will go ahead and start with, well, I guess since it's facing me, I'll do position 2, which is going to be the counterclockwise direction. It'll go in like this. And contrary to popular belief, it's going to use the smaller motor. I'm going to string that wire up there like that. Make sure I'm in the picture. There we go. I'll feed that through the hole. I think I'll just get in there with my finger initially. There we go. Spins in there, no problem. I did the same thing on the other side. And I got that one. There we go. Lost my dexterity for a moment. There we go. Spin it in there, find the hole. Alright, and then I need an Allen key. Just like that. And just tighten all of them up and go around. All right. So just do that 5 more times and then you'll be good to go. Now we got all the arms on, giving you the top view so you can see it. So all we got to do now is just connect the ESCs to the motor, and also I want to point out to you again, since I have all the arms on. All right, we'll go this way. So this is the front, there's the arrow. All right, so we said that this is position 1. Position 1 is clockwise. Position 2 is counterclockwise. And we said position 3 is clockwise. Remember the black tips mean clockwise. Position 4 is counterclockwise. Position 5 is also counterclockwise. And then we have here position 6, which is clockwise. Had to think about that for a second. So anyway, and just to make sure, it just rotates black, silver, silver, and black, and then silver. All right. So then what we'll do is, after we get that together, then we'll go ahead and mount the top to it, and then get into how to program the Pixhawk flight controller. Okay, we're going to go over some different components of the Radio Link flight controller. Actually, I should say Pixhawk Radio Link flight controller. So we have the buzzer, pretty easy to plug in there. That's the buzzer right there, and I installed it on this box, Velcroed it on the box temporarily for calibration. You'll see why in a minute. And then I have the switch here, which is the arming switch. Mine looks a little different than most of the other ones there. It's on a little circuit board, but it still has an LED and a little push button switch. You see this is the GPS. GPS has 2 plugs, so you got one that plugs in the GPS, the other one goes into the magnetometer set, or the I2C port right there. And then up here at the top, this is where it says RCN. That's where you're going to plug in your FlySky, well, I should say your whatever receiver set that you're going to use. In this case, I'm going to use an X4R. So let me show you how to bound that real quick. And just so you know, I've got my X4R out of its case, but this is it right here, just so you know. And ideally, you're going to plug the power into the bottom pins, the first 3 bottom pins. And of course, the power is in the middle and then the ground on the outside, just as it says right there. And then I'm going to take my Taranis radio. Let's see, I got a little bit of glare, sorry about that. But you're going to go until you find, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says receiver number, and then you're going to go to the bind position, and hit enter. And you're going to hear that little chirping noise. I'm going to put that off to the side. And I'm going to drop the camera down just a little bit so you can see the X4R. And so I have this wire connection set here that allow me to take my voltage and change it to a 3, or was it an output of a 3 amp 5 volt output from the I should say from this battery right here. So what you're going to do here is, while that's chirping away, you're going to want to hold, and yeah, one of my antennas came off. I got another one ordered. I'll just put it on there in a second. You just hold that little button down right there, and then you just plug power into it. There you go, and you see the red light blinking. Actually, my fingers flipped off of it. Let me try it again. And just make sure my finger. There we go. Try that one more time. And plug power. There we go. Now it's blinking. So let's just wait a couple seconds. Doesn't take long, and then turn off the bind button set. Let go of that. And then all you do is just unplug the power from there. Some say to turn off the taranis, so I guess I'll go ahead and turn it off, and then I'll turn it back on again.
Welcome to OpenTX. Flight mode 1.
And then I'll go ahead and plug that in. And once you plug it in, you got a green light, so you are bound.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
And you see, you gotta be careful. You can't be too close to the antenna at the same time. But at least
Telemetry lost.
At least you know it's connected. Let me move
Telemetry
this over here.
recovered.
There we go. So now you know it's definitely connected because it has a loss and gaining of telemetry. So you got the green light there, so you're good to go. So let's get back to the flight controller here. The reason why I have it mounted on the box too, by the way, and making sure that the arrows are pointed, to the arrow down there and down there pointed the same direction, primarily because it'll be easier to configure it when you do the compass calibration and all that. Okay, so then the switch, which is the arming switch, is right here in the middle, and that's this thing right here. Just shove it right there so it doesn't pop out. And then I have the X4R, which I plug into the RC input. And if you notice, I was missing an antenna. I just bought new antennas. I'm getting ready to put another one on there. And here's the X4R cover, just so you know it's the real deal. All right, and then the last thing you would plug in would be the GPS. So you see the GPS portion right there, and then the magnetometer, which is the I think it's the I2C port right there. Move that up. I guess you didn't see the I2C port right there. Okay, so what we'll do is I have the side. This is your micro USB. It plugs in on the side. I'm going to plug this into the computer and start up APM. Let's see here. Plug that in first, and remember, if it asks for any kind of Windows update, just say no. You'll update the firmware and all that within APM. So it's lighting up, and let me go to my computer, open up APM Planner, and I'm going to turn on my taranis.
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning.
Switches. Some switches are out of place somewhere.
Flight mode 1.
There we go. All right. So then, what you want to do is you want to go to Initial Setup, and you want to install your firmware. And then when you install the firmware, it'll look for the port and all those things there, requesting firmware versions. Let me move in a little bit so you can see that. Just a little bit. Requesting firmware versions, and it says it's done. Shouldn't be too difficult. Look, I'll leave that right there. And then the next thing you need to do is we would then go back. You can go back to flight data, then you connect. So, I don't know, you heard the volume was down. I turned it down, it said pre-arm check board voltage. And obviously, because we don't have a battery hooked up to it. So we'll move this up a little bit here. We'll come back to the Pixhawk, but I'm going to move up so you can see, zoom out a little bit, so you can see everything on the screen. Yeah, so it'll do that, and it gets kind of irritating. All right, so within initial setup, you want to do mandatory setup. So you want to do the frame type. So in my case, I'm doing a hexa. So you select that, and then you got to make sure the frame type within the hexa is exact orientation, which is this one right here. So I hit that X/Y6A, 6 alpha. It'll be that guy right there. So then you get to compass. Make sure you select your Pixhawk, and then what you do is you hit live calibration. So live calibration, and I'll show you how to do it here. This says data will be collected for 60 seconds. Please click OK and move the APM around all axes. Alright, so we'll do that real quick. So you just move it here in a circle like this. Move it face down like this way. Let's see here, this way. It's easier when you have it, you know, now you understand why I have it Velcro to this box, because if you already had it mounted to your airframe, then you've got a big, huge, bulky airframe to move around. Let's see, make sure I got all these axes. I've got like 30 seconds left here. Let's see here, I don't know if I did this one. And then I'll go this way. I think I did that before. This way. This way. This way. And back again. That way. We'll flip it upside down and spend too much time that way. And this way. That way. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So it looks like we've got some values. I was told as long as you don't have a number over 300, you're okay. Those numbers are a little big. I might do them again, but let's see. I think that's the device 1 and compass 2. So compass 1, I believe, is the Pixhawk itself, and then compass 2 is the GPS puck. All right, so we bend down so you get a little bit of that. Oh, actually, you need to see the screen too. Let me back up the camera here. All right, so now we'll go over. We'll hit OK. And you want to do Accel calibration. So in this case here, I'm going to drop the camera down. So I'm going to hit calibrate. All right, and this is where it says place vehicle level and press any key. So I think if I drop it like that, you can see it. There you go. So right now it's level. Place it on this left side. So you remember the arrow. I'm going to turn it the right way. So the arrow is pointing this way. You see that? So then this is left side. So I turn it to the left. And then make sure it's about straight. Actually, if the box edges are flat, then it kind of works. Otherwise, you need a T-square. So just put it on the right side. And it looks about right. And then this is nose down. I'll turn it this way so you can see on the computer. So nose down this way. And then it says place it nose up. Make sure that's level. That looks good. There we go. Place it on its back, which is actually this way. And this is calibration successful. So I'll move it back up on the screen there. So you can see everything. I'll just put that right there. Trying to move it back a little bit so you can see the edge of the lights. And then I go to radio calibration. All right, so here's, I'm sorry about the vibrations there again. So radio calibration, so I'm going to use my taranis here. So I'm already connected. And if you had already bounded your transmitter, or I should say your receiver to your transmitter, then you should already have these things in green. If they're not green, then that means you didn't bound them correctly. Or, there's always an or you don't have them plugged in correctly. So let me pull out the X4R real quick so you're tracking. If you don't have the green, I should say, if you don't have a green bars on the screen, but you have a green light here, then you might have this plugged into the wrong pins. Actually, I had this plugged in on the top 3 pins there, and I was supposed to put on the bottom 3 pins, so that's what happened there. So we'll show that back in there. And the other thing too is you don't want it to be, you don't want your taranis to be too close because you'll lose your set there. I should say your signal. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit calibrate. It's that little button right there. And it says you're about to start radio calibration, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any motors connected, see why. And hit OK. All right, and it says move the sticks to the maximum values. So it's really easy. So throttle. See that? I'll just go up and down a couple times. That looks good. And then I'll do some yaw. I don't know why I got, it's like I got these red things. They were superimposed on it, but when you move them, then they spread out. All right, and then I've got, let's see here, a roll. So I'll just keep going back and forth. And then I'll do the pitch. And remember about the pitch. You notice how it's opposite? If you've done it right, then when you push it up, then it should go down. When you pull it down, it should go up. That's the right setting. All right, and I'll just move them around in circles here. And back the other way. Okay. Okay, so everybody should be set. And then I'm going to do the switches. All right, so there's 16 channels.
Flight mode 2. Flight mode
actually, I already have them
1.
programmed, but
Flight
you see how
mode 4.
all
Flight
the different
mode
switches
1.
are working. And actually, I put in a sound set on there. I'll show you how to do that in subsequent videos, perhaps. All right, so now I'm just doing all the switches. I think I'm missing a switch somewhere because it looks like somebody. Okay, that's 8. Who's the other guy? Maybe it's this one over here.
Flight mode 2. Flight mode 1. Flight
Okay,
mode
that's good.
3. Flight mode 1. Flight mode 4. Flight mode 1. Landing mode on.
Oh, there's 7. That's what it was. So the one I look like I'm missing is 6.
Flight mode 2.
Where's
Flight
6?
mode 1. Flight mode 4. Flight mode 6. Flight mode 4. Flight mode 4. Landing mode on.
No.
Flight mode 1.
To
Flight
find
mode
out where
1.
my input 6 is. Looks like 6 isn't calibrated. I gotta figure out where that guy is. Huh. This is on the side here. I don't know. Well, 6 is the only one that's not getting calibrated. I have to go back through the program and see if I even have it activated. But anyways, the rest of it's calibrated, so I'll say in calibration. And say OK. All right, everything looks pretty reasonable. Just remember you get that throttle position, and I think sometimes it won't arm if you don't have the right throttle position numbers set. I'll show you how to fix that in a second. Alright, so then we have, let's see, flight modes. Move that in a little closer. So I've already got mine set, but for each of the switches, you can then activate each of the flight modes. So I have, and this is a different time, I'll have to show you how to program that, but I had all my switches, so when they're on the up positions here, it means I'm in flight mode 1. I drop that in the middle.
2.
That puts me in 2. Let me move up just a little bit so you can see the top change there. You see where it says altitude hold, and it matches there.
Flight mode 3.
And loiter. So here's the thing, if you want to change that, let's say I want to change altitude hold to maybe guided, right? And you just hit right, and then it's in there. So now I go to number 2.
Flight mode 2.
And you see this is guided at the top and then guided there. So it's real easy how you do that to change all the flight modes there. Okay,
flight
so we'll keep
mode
that stabilized. And then what was the other one I had? I think it was altitude hold. We'll just leave it there. I'm not gonna do any guided flights for a little while. It's working out right. Then if I move this, then you can see the green screen there and how it flies up and down. I got a compass lock. I've zoomed out because I don't really care to have any visitors here. But yeah, it sees I'm in the United States. And on top of that, it gives you the pre-arm check before you actually get ready to arm the thing. So, all right, so I think we're good there. So we'll get ready to back to assembly. All right, so we're going to see how it looks with the propellers on. I'm not going to push the throttle because I think it's going to spin pretty good.
Flight mode power.
So that's looking pretty good. Very dangerous too. This thing will cut you right open. That's why I'm far enough back. But yeah, it's looking good. I have it down like it's almost. I didn't even put the throttle on it. It's just at the very bottom of the startup. Yep. So I'll be flying it tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. We'll check the cameras. Camera's looking pretty good. Got a good first-person viewer. And I got the other camera down at the bottom. You can almost. You can see that there. Yeah, we'll be ready to go.